Hello friends, and welcome to Escaping the Mouse with your host, me, Breck Roll. Alright, we're going to do another episode of Bites and Nibbles with Breck today. Today we're going to make gumbo in the Instant Pot. Now, there's a reason why I'm doing this one today. As you know, I've been growing okra in my garden, and my okra plants are really starting to produce, and I need to start producing some recipes that are going to use some of this okra, because I got to admit, I don't have a whole lot of experience working with it, and I would like to actually, since I'm growing it here, since it's sort of a southern staple, I wanted to learn a little bit about what we can do with it. And so today's recipe is something I found online where you can make a gumbo that includes some okra. So let's get going. I'll show you what the ingredients are. So there's a lot of ingredients in this recipe. Let's go through them one by one. We're going to need a little olive oil, some diced tomatoes and green chilies, some fire roasted tomatoes that are diced, some bay leaves, something called Creole seasoning. I've never tried that before. I bought it especially for this recipe. We'll see what it turns out to be. Some flour, some white rice, some chicken broth, chicken breast, red and green bell peppers, garlic and an onion, some celery, okra from my yard, some butter, some shrimp, salt and pepper, and I'm not even trying to pronounce that word, but it's a sausage, and the recipe calls for it by name. And I was actually surprised I found this at the grocery store, but that's it. And those are our ingredients for this recipe. Let's take a look at this. Now, one of the first things that needs to be done is that I need to dice up the vegetables and the meat. And you've seen me do that before, so I'm going to do that with the camera off, and I'll catch up with you when that's complete. Alright, some time has gone by. I've chopped up my bell peppers, my onions, my celery, my garlic, and my sausage, and I'm going to put them in the Instant Pot, but we're going to turn the Instant Pot into saute mode, and we're going to put, the recipe calls for about 2 tablespoons of olive oil, but I'm going to put a little bit more because I have a bigger Instant Pot. We're going to heat that up, and we're going, once the oil is ready to go, I'm going to pour all this in here, and we're going to saute this for about 5 minutes until everything is nice and cooked. Alright, so I'm just going to kind of keep it moving here a little bit for a few minutes. I'm going to try and keep the camera away from it this time so we don't fog the camera up, which always seems to be a major issue when I saute something in the Instant Pot. Already smells pretty good. Alright, several minutes of this have gone by. This is actually starting to look pretty good. I've often said I wish you could smell what I'm smelling on YouTube, but you're just going to have to use your imagination on this. This smells really good. Right now, I mean, it's the onions and the garlic that are coming through mostly. But I think at this point, now that got pretty much everything cooked here for about 5 minutes, kind of just heated everything up, what we're going to do is we're going to move on to the next step. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to take all of this out. I'm going to put it in the same bowl that I had it in before, and we're going to put it aside for now, because now we're going to move on to the next part. Alright, next what I'm going to do is I'm going to put in 1/3 cup of butter, and when that melts, I am going to add in 1/3 cup of flour. And what we're going to do is we're going to keep mixing that for about 5 minutes until it kind of melts all together and turns into kind of a sauce. Alright, well, I've been kind of letting the butter melt. I've also been kind of scraping some of the stuff off the bottom of the pan because apparently that adds to the flavor. So we're going to add the butter, or we're going to add the flour here. And we're going to just kind of keep it moving now for the next couple minutes until everything is kind of mixed together. And once that's completed, I'm going to pour in 3 cups of chicken broth, our vegetables and sausage that we put aside a couple minutes ago, and we're also going to include 1 pound of chicken. Sorry, I'm trying to do this with one hand. That always isn't the most graceful and beautiful video, but that's what happens sometimes. Got to work with what you got. Sorry friends, but the scene that was supposed to be in this place got lost in the editing process. Basically the next step is I put in the 2 cans of the tomatoes, the salt, the pepper, the Creole seasoning, the bay leaves, and everything except for the shrimp and the okra. And that gets mixed in there, and then we move on from there. So I'm going to modify this recipe a little bit. It actually says prepare the rice and serve it separately and then pour the gumbo on top of the rice. But that would work well if I was going to do a single menu or a single meal for a bunch of people all at once. But since this is going to all end up in a Tupperware bowl for a while, I'm going to actually pour the rice in here, and we're going to cook the gumbo with the rice in it. Because like I said, this is going to end up in a Tupperware container, and I kind of want to have it be good for a long period afterwards. So, you know, we'll eat on this for the next week or two. But already, man, it smells fantastic. Now, I prepared the rice for about 10 minutes in boiling water on the stove and mixed it in. And then the remainder of the cooking for the rice will actually take place in the Instant Pot here. And then we're going to just put the lid on. We're going to secure it. We're going to go into pressure cook. Some of them say manual. Mine says pressure cook. And we're going to set the timer for 20 minutes. And we're going to cook it at high for 20 minutes. All right, our time has gone by, and I'm going to quick release. As you know how that always works. Smells good. And there goes the pin. Now it's safe to remove the lid. Now remember, once again, I've mentioned this on every time I've done this, watch out for condensation and steam, because it's going to be hot in here. Now, one of the things they mentioned when I was reading the recipe is that you might get a warning that your food is going to burn if you continue this way. They said pretty much ignore it, and I'm not seeing any problems in here with this. So we're going to continue on. What I'm going to do is I'm going to put the Instant Pot into saute mode because we aren't done yet. First thing we're going to do is we're going to put our okra in, and I'm actually going to use a little bit more okra than normally would be used. It calls for a cup. Since this is my own home okra, I want to use a little bit more, so I got about 2 cups of it in here. Let's see if we can get it all to come out of the plate here. There we go. And then what we're going to do is we're just going to stir this for about 5 minutes. Oh yeah, that looks pretty good, doesn't it? And of course I'm fogging up the camera again. That always seems to happen. Alright, 5 minutes have gone by, and I'm now going to add my shrimp, and we're going to let that simmer for another about 5 minutes. Now this is a shrimp that they call has been peeled and deveined. Now it says you have to do that yourself, but I was able to find peeled and deveined shrimp at HEB, so I'm not even really going to have to worry about that. But that's going to add the real punch to all this. See you in about 5 minutes. Alright, that's been cooked now for a while, about 5 minutes, and we are ready to give this thing its taste test. First thing I'm going to do is cancel, turn off the heat, and I'm going to serve some of this into a bowl, and let's give this thing a taste test. Alright, it's taste test time. Like I said, this smells really good. I wish you could smell it yourself, but it can probably be really hot, so I'm going to take it a little bit at a time here because, let's face it, it's been cooking for a long time. Yeah, it's pretty good. Let's get a little meat in there this time. I could see how there would be an advantage to doing this with the, pouring it on top of the rice as opposed to cooking it with the rice. But the fact that I'm going to spread this over a few meals and have it in a Tupperware container, it just seemed like this was going to be a better option to me. It's probably not authentic gumbo, but whatever. I'm looking about functionality more than process. So yeah, that's pretty good. Got a big chunk of shrimp here right at the top, so let's give that a shot too. Yeah, that's really good. The shrimp really adds to it. In the future, I would probably cut the shrimp into smaller bite-sized pieces because it's a little too big. The shrimp I got are a little bit too big for a mouthful, but that's okay. Let's see if I can find some of that sausage in there. There's some sausage. Oh, I got a little okra right here on the top here. Let's grab that too. Yeah, that's good. The okra adds to it. It adds a little bit of a flavor to it, and I'm glad it did that. This is a good recipe. I definitely recommend trying it out if you're interested in such a thing. I mentioned a little earlier that the Instant Pot reported that it might be burning the food a little bit. It did a little bit on the bottom, but it wasn't really a problem. We'll just kind of soak it in water and it'll be fine. But this was a pretty good recipe. I'd recommend this. It's got a nice little bite to it, probably from the Creole spices. But it turned out really well. I'd recommend this one. I'll put the recipe in the description below. Give it a check out if you're interested. And until then, I think this is the end of my vlog. Thank you as always for watching, and I'll see you next time on Escaping the Mouse. Bon appetit.